All right, everyone. Welcome to a special live Q&A with myself. Alicia is away and Igor are away, both of them today. So it's just me. I'm happy to be connected with you. It seems like it's been a while since I've been able to just go live just on my own. So it's great to be able to continue forward and actually do a little retro episode where we're returning back to the early days when it was just me. I'll be honest, it sure is nice having someone else, kind of a co-pilot when I'm doing these. And I'll miss both Alicia and Igor while they are away. So if this is your first time connecting in on these Canada Immigration Live Q&As, I'd love for you to leave a comment and just let me know, how you're doing. Just post a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. I've been having a little bit of trouble for whatever reason with my eCam here, and so I'm not sure, what's happening. This is great. Is there a press conference by the immigration minister today? Amir, I have no clue. Is the minister going to have a press conference? I have not seen or heard anything about it, at least within my email. They haven't told anything to the Canadian Bar Association, so I haven't heard anything. But if you have, please, by all means, let me know. Definitely, we haven't heard anything from my end. So maybe you know something that I don't. Let's see. Kylie, good to see you. Yes, I am alone today. I am on my own for this live Q&A. I'll be answering your questions. I'll be the engineer, the video editor, the sound guy. And in fact, my sound is actually giving me a little bit of grief. So when I play it here on my computer, I cannot hear it for whatever reason. So I would love to hear if you guys can hear sound when I play it. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to do a little live test. So I'm going to play my Welcome to the North music, which is my intro music. And you tell me if you can hear it. So I'm going to play it. And then you tell me if you can hear it playing in the background. So I'm just going to start it here. And I also can't tell exactly if there's, what level it is or anything. So it doesn't look like I have any sound. Oh, now I found it. Success. Yes, there we go. I had a little bit of trouble because my sound was muted on my end. Anyway, so we'll get the little background music going while I'm doing some intros here. That song was generated by Suno, the AI song generator. So it's awesome. Okay, let's see where everybody's tuning in from. Okay, we've got Olya. He says, hello from snowy Edmonton. What's the temperature there, Olya? I was looking today. I went out and played a little pickleball this morning, and it was quite cool out there. So let's see what the temperature is. You tell me what it is up there in Edmonton. It's not too bad. We're looking at about 22, you guys, if you can see that. Let's get this in front where it can focus. Yeah, looks like about minus 22 degrees here, but it sure feels a little bit colder than that even. It sure feels that way. All right, Jairus from Morocco. Welcome, Jairus. Thanks for tuning in. And JB, you're very welcome. Thank you, says to Mark, for doing what you do. Hello, everyone. Kuber, good to have you here. Sarab is tuning in from North Bay. Great to have you. All right. Thanks for the 5 out of 5. I appreciate that. You know, every day we get new Google reviews that pop in on our feed online. And if I just shift over here to the web, I'll show you. So we always try to post our Google reviews here. So it looks like we're up to about 289 reviews. And I can tell you that I absolutely love reading these. And every single person who leaves a review for me, I will go in and respond to every single one. And so these are the lifeblood of our firm. You know, it's interesting. I have consults all the time, you guys, with individuals who've used other representatives, and then they basically are reaching out to get a second opinion. And I can't tell you how many times I've had situations where I look at kind of what was done before. And let's face it, it's easy to go back in hindsight and say, oh, I would have done this, or I would have done that. But oh boy, I'll tell you guys, there's just no room for errors these days. I have had so many consultations with people that have had their applications rejected for just the most cruel reasons, just tiny little things. There's always the traditional, wrong knock code, improper reference letters, but boy, are we seeing waves of them going back and questioning everything from funds to proof of funds to what did I see yesterday? Oh, it was once again titles of jobs. So you listed your title for this occupation on your study permit as this, and now in your EAPR, you've listed it as this. I've seen them really, really go after people for just the smallest little things, alleging, misrepresentation. Okay, Kuber says, thanks for making time to just come and help all of us. You're very welcome. And Amir says, I can hear it. Yes. And I'm glad that it was able to, thanks for the reports, guys. I really appreciate that. Letitia, good to have you connecting in from Dallas, Texas. Hopefully it's a little bit warmer than Olia and my, 22 and her 24 up in Edmonton. Colorado, Chris, welcome. Thanks for joining in. Great to have you here. We've got Rohits over in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Thank you for connecting in. And hi, Mark Didier from Mauritius here. Great. Good to have you here. Thanks for giving me these opportunity to kind of shout out here. I love doing this. And we'll make sure to get to everybody's questions. Rio Clemente is from Toronto. Thanks for connecting in. Kuber says, Williams Lake, BC feels like minus 26. Yes, we are finally back into the cold. Moncton's 3 degrees. Well, just 2 days ago, it was nice. Like there were days it was up to 15 degrees Celsius here in Lethbridge, where I'm from. But lately it has been cold. One really cool thing, and I'm not sure if she's tuning in, but there was a lady from Brazil that whenever I'm out in the grocery stores or out shopping or wherever, out in the community, it's so neat to listen to all the different languages that are spoken. Excuse me. Often I can figure out what language it is just because of how many people I interact with. And whenever I hear Portuguese, my ears kind of perk up. And so I heard this lady and her daughter, they were going through the checkout at Superstore here in Lethbridge ahead of me. And I was listening. I'm like, I think that's Portuguese. So I always ask them, if they're speaking Portuguese. And then as soon as I said that, she says, I know you. She says, I watch your videos. and they're working their way through their permanent residence. They've got a provincial nomination from Alberta and they're busy filing it. So I didn't catch her name, but if she's tuning in today on the live, I'll give her a little shout out and make sure that you post if you were the one that I saw in the Superstore here in Lethbridge. So it's always fun to meet people out in the public that watch the videos and get benefit from them. So wonderful. Okay, Shirley says, hey, Mark from Toronto, I won access to the Express Entry course last week from your live game, and yesterday I got an ITA. This is awesome. Speaking of ITAs, I think everybody knows now that the CEC draws are still alive and well. They did another big 6,000 draw, and it was 508. So we're still hanging down there below the 510s. And it's just hard to believe that there's so many people above that level still, even though, and this is all these people that are piling in. If you look at the previous rounds of invitations, we can see that the previous CEC was 509, where they did 6,000, and then it came down from 511, and then before that 515. So it's slowly kind of climbing down, but it's hard to imagine that like 6,000 people. Because realistically, that's, once the 509 was drawn, that 6,000 people came back into the pool above, that 508 threshold. And it's quite crazy to imagine that many people are scoring that high and that there's that many at each of these levels. And if you go down here and I'll just go back and we'll just look at this again for a second. If we go here and we look at the score distribution as of February the 15th, so the round of invitations happened on the 17th. So it was 2 days before. You can see that 501 to 600, they just don't break it down, which I wish they did. But there's, just about 16,559 people in the 501 to 600. And we know that the round of invitations about a month ago for CEC, because it pulled at the 50, I think it was the 509 level, it's hard to imagine that there's just still so many that are above 500. So those of you who are right in that range, hang tight. There are, there's good reason to be optimistic. They're continuing to draw large numbers, and that's a good thing for everyone. So congratulations, Shirley. We'll give you some applause here. So congratulations. That's awesome. And I'm so glad you're able to get the free access to the course. So those of you who are tuning in, last week was it last week or the week before was our 500th episode of the on that we've posted of these live Q&As. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to view the channel. I'm going to pull it up here, and I'm just going to share my screen with you again. And so this is the YouTube channel, and you can see we've got 68,500 subscribers, 1.1K videos. But if you look here, this is episode 501. So we are literally at breaking new ground now at 501. And it's hard to believe that we've done that many live Q&As. And that doesn't count any of the other videos that we've done. But wow, 501. That's awesome. And lots of people say, well, Mark, why don't you offer free consultations? And part of the reason that we don't, our consultations are not free, they're paid. Then there's a reason for that, because you get tremendous value out of those. But we do this as our outreach, giving back. So if you have questions, start posting them now, and we will definitely get to them. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, here we go. We've got Chrisane. Chrisane, I don't think you're the one from Superstore. I don't know, but from Lethbridge. So connect in. That's great to have you connected. We've got, Jesse, one of my favorite people in the world. Have a wonderful day, Mark. You have helped a lot of people. Oh, Jesse. I love Jesse. Jesse's a realtor here in Lethbridge. So anyone who's in Lethbridge that's looking to buy a house or sell a house, absolutely reach out to Jessie Sommerfeld. She is phenomenal. Just one of the kindest, most amazing people that I know in my circles. So thanks, Jessie. Appreciate that. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Kylie says, do you speak French, Mr. Mark? I don't actually speak French. There was a time when I was able to speak a little bit, but when I learned Portuguese years ago, the French kind of floated away. So yes, my French is very elementary, but Alicia speaks French, and so anyone that is seeking assistance or direction in the French language, Alicia speaks French. So keep that in mind when you're booking consults, Kylie. Okay, let's see what else here. Any other shout outs? Rohit says, that's awesome. Rohit says, me too. I won the consultation and got an ITA yesterday. Mark is lucky for us. Oh, I'm so happy for you guys. So happy. Yeah, that's just the best. That is totally the best. All right. So I'm going to go back to Amir here, and I'm going to say, Amir, I don't know if the minister is going to do some press conference. I haven't seen anything here posted. Let me just do a quick search here. I don't think so, but who knows? Let's see. Okay, so let's see here. It looks like it. Let's see. So here's what we've got. I did a little search. So here's what we've got. So Minister Diab, those of you who are wondering who Minister Diab is, it's this individual right here, Minister Diab, who basically is pretty absent. She's definitely not. She doesn't do much. I've been kind of disappointed, to be honest, because she's an immigration lawyer, at least she was, and she'd be the one person who could actually offer some direction and guidance on what's happening with immigration, and she just never ever really speaks. But it looks to me like it should be at 10:40 p.m. So media advisory. So the Honorable Lena Metleg Diab of IRCC makes an announcement related to immigration express entry categories as part of an address to the Canadian Club Toronto. And media availability will follow. So I guess we'll see. I wish that there was a way to access it. Media only. I guess I can't quite consider myself media. I guess I could consider myself media. So there's definitely, thanks for bringing that up. So there's obviously going to be something happening here at 10:40. So 12:40 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know if they are going to if they're going to announce this anywhere, or where we can actually watch it and live stream it. Let me just see here. I'm going to send an email to my good friend. Let's see. See if my good friend Tamara knows about this. It's probably they're going to make some changes to the express entry category. And I'll also tell you guys that I think, personally, I think that the minister's probably going to create a category for executives and CEOs. That's what I'm hoping. The double zeros. At least that's what they had indicated before, that they were going to do that. Ultimately, if that's how it plays out, that would be great. But I think from what I would expect, if it's express entry and related to the categories, they're going to make some changes. Let's slide over here and just take a look at this. So those of you who've probably seen this before, right now, and I think a lot of you are probably already in the know, the category-based invitations, we'll just open this up here, are currently, they identify these categories. But in reality, we have not seen any STEM, and we haven't really seen too much with respect to trade occupations. We've seen a healthy offering of French, which I'm actually kind of tired of, but whatever. Healthcare, and we haven't seen ag either. We've seen a little bit of education, and now we have our physicians with Canadian work experience. So we're going to see how all of those play out, but probably they're going to shuffle these. Maybe they'll add some new categories. We'll just have to see. You can see that there's an ability to provide input on those categories, and each year they tend to ask for feedback on the category-based selection. So yeah, so this is kind of how it's structured right now. I guess we'll see what Minister Diab announces here at 10:40 my time. So it looks like about 13 minutes or so. So if anybody knows where it's going to be posted, let me know, and we might just slide right over there and do a watch party. So we'll see. Okay. Oh, Sam says you can watch here, Mark. Okay. There's going to be, yeah, that's what we know. There's going to be category changes. Where is this link, Sam? It's not showing. Let me see if I can see Sam here. We'll pause this. And Sam, did you post a link or try to post a link, Sam? Because I don't see it. Let's see here. I'm just going through, and I don't think I see the link if you have one, Sam. Just says you can watch here, Mark. Okay, not sure. We'll figure it out. We will figure it out. All right, we'll drop the minister off here. Okay, so going forward, let's pull up a few things. A few other... Oh, Hilamani as well. Hilamani is one of the best pickleball players I have ever played against. And he's, oh my goodness, he is so good. A good friend. That's fun when friends connect in here. Says, thank you for all of your hard work to help our immigration needs, Mark. You are very, very welcome, my friend. Okay, let's see what else we have. Chris says, hey, first time at the channel here. Thoughts on the French-based draws? Do you think it could be a draw that gets too populated? Of course it is. This is an economic program. It should not be used to socially engineer French across the country. I'm a firm believer in the need for bilingualism in our country. If we are bilingual, then there should be an opportunity for people to learn and speak French every bit as much as English across the country. But the way they're doing it, I take great issue with, because they're basically excluding individuals that truly are have higher human capital, that will be better able to economically establish themselves across the country. And when it comes to French, just speaking French is not going to help you to become any more economically established in Lethbridge or any other community. In fact, if you don't speak any English and you are trying to get a job anywhere outside of, outside of Quebec and some of the, maybe New Brunswick or some of the areas where there's predominant French, it's not, there's not any advantage to speaking French. And I take great issue with what the government is doing in this regard. But I don't make those decisions, so I can just sit here and complain, Chris, and let people know about my dissatisfaction. But it is what it is. But the numbers of French-speaking candidates far outstrips right now Anglophones. So it is what it is. Okay, let's see what else we have here. I'm going to go to the beginning and we'll start posting questions. But yeah, Sam, if anybody has the link, I'd be happy to see what you recommend. Let's see here. Let's see, what do we have next? Okay, pull up our first question. Okay, so that good guy says, hello, Mark, and hello, Alicia and Igor and absentia. Still waiting for AOR, 1 month now, citizenship application. Yeah, this is so normal. You can see the processing times for citizenship have climbed substantially. So we know that everything is going to start taking longer and longer. That's pretty common. Okay, Kylie says, is the press conference today about 3,000 Ukrainians direct path to PR? We will have to see, Kylie. We will have to see. But I can't imagine any world where there's going to be a 3,000 Ukrainian direct path to PR. It's just not going to happen. Canada has relations with the Ukraine government. We are on pretty good terms. And it would not be a good political move for Canada to just open and offer permanent resident status for 300,000 Ukrainians. In fact, the leaders, will just speak generally of Ukraine, have expressed an interest in their people coming home, and so they actually don't want them to become permanent residents of other countries. So that's why we haven't seen anything more than the family connection PR program. Okay, let's see what else here. We'll zip down to the next one. We've got a lot of comments here today already. Okay, let's see. Okay, we'll pull up. Kylie says, today it's been 64 days since AOR. Upfront medical updated on tracker to passed on January 23rd. No biometric instruction letter issued yet. Is it web form time? No, not at all. Here's something I want to tell you guys too, that I think many of you don't understand. Largely, the pain and suffering that people experience right now is because of the impatience that people have with permanent residence. So when Canada decided we're going to expedite express entry and we're going to do it in 6 months, process these, what disappeared was kindness and compassion and forgiveness and basically opportunities to fix small little mistakes. So when they decided to go to 6 months, it meant that processing would be ruthless, that there would be no compassion, except, I will point out, if you are through one of the Francophone categories, they have a double standard. So they will often give you more chances than they will an English-speaking applicant. That's just part of their mandate, once again. And so unless you're a French candidate, where I've seen a lot of discretion given to them, you basically, there's no mercy. The standard is perfection. And so we, for years now, have no longer represented our clients in a traditional way. Why? Because I just can't take a chance. So when we're going through the applications, even uploading and submitting, we do it collaboratively with our clients. We go through every single form, every document. I cross-reference everything. I go back and look at all the old 5710s or the study permit application forms or everything that, has any kind of a touch point on that person's immigration history. We go through to cross-reference and make sure that there is no inconsistencies. And if there are, we address them proactively. We literally tell immigration all the issues that we think they may have with the application in advance, so that they know we are not trying to hide anything or conceal anything or misrepresent anything. we also try to correct errors in previous applications. And so you can't always go back in and just submit a web form to a matter or a file that isn't active. Well, you can send it, but it's probably not going to get looked by anyone because that matter's already concluded. The study permit's been approved. The work permit's been issued, right? But in the context of an EAPR for express entry, or even through the PR portal, if you're going through one of the PNP non-express entry based applications, I will go out of my way to disclose and highlight any inconsistencies and then clarify where the mistakes occurred so that there is not going to be a situation where an officer questions really the genuineness or the credibility of my client. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. I'm just looking here. I don't know if it's going to actually be here. I'm just looking here. I'm just watching the calendar and the time go by. It's 10:35 right now. And I don't see a link anywhere on YouTube where it might be. So like I said, if anybody knows where this might be, it says location, RSVP for venue details. The key here is the Canadian Club Toronto, sure, but the question is whether or not they will actually broadcast it. So, I could probably get it if I was to use the Canadian Immigration Institute, but anyways, so I will just wait, see if anybody can magically find the link for that. Okay. Let's keep trucking down the path here. Let's see. Okay, so Marla says, I'd like to know if someone is under TPS that is in limbo in the US, could that impact their PR application? When it comes to permanent resident applications, they do not assess them the same way that they do for temporary resident. So let's say someone is in the US and they are out of status for whatever reason. In those circumstances, it's going to be extremely difficult to secure a visitor visa to come visit Canada, or a study permit or a work permit even at times, because they basically say, well, if you're willing to overstay in one country, then there's a good chance you'll do the same thing in Canada if your visa runs out. So that can be, when they're assessing the bona fides, that can be a factor that they look at. If an individual, however, is applying for permanent residence, well, that's a little bit of a different story. As long as there's no inadmissibility to Canada, criminal or otherwise, then having a visa refused to a country or being out of status in a country, it doesn't have a direct result in a refusal. There may be other issues. For example, there may be individuals who are out of status who need biometrics, right? And then the places that you go, unless you have valid status, maybe you can't get biometrics. That's an issue that sometimes arises. So if there's any specific things, Marla, that you want to address, definitely slide over and book a consultation. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, if you just click in the link below, it will take you where you can book a consult, and it's pretty simple. You just click on speak to a lawyer, and then from here you can select who you want to book the consultation with. All right. Okay, keep cruising along here. We're making some good ground. Let's see here. Okay, so Christine says, I've been in Canada since October 2023, living with my Canadian common law partner. Currently have a visitor visa. I've extended twice. I've applied for a PR. Do I need to extend my April expired visit? Yeah, absolutely. Just because you have permanent resident application in the queue, you absolutely need to maintain your status. So you're going to definitely apply to extend that status. Okay, Dwayne says, do I need to take the IELTS before application for permanent residency? Yes. Yes, absolutely. The only time you wouldn't, spousal sponsorships don't require, like through the family class, don't require an IELTS, but all the economic programs do. Okay, here's a good question. So Oya says, hello everyone, what documents are needed to be provided for Alberta Tech Pathway to prove that business are bona fide? Work hybrid, online, client's office, small IT firm from Red Deer, home registration. It's going to be that all of those factors are going to be very, very difficult. The Alberta Advantage Immigration Program, they do not like those types of situations where the employer is, maybe the address is a home-based business. They don't like, even when it comes to online work, if you don't have a place where you can actually report and work out of that business, it's going to be really hard to get an approval through the accelerated tech pathway. In fact, I had an interaction with about 12 people. I think it was about 12 who collectively booked a consult with me, and they all got, procedural fairness letters essentially from the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program to provide evidence showing why they should get their nomination processed, because they didn't believe that the operation itself had a location where they could actually go and work if needed in a hybrid environment. And that's a part of the bona fides for the business. So you definitely, it's probably a discussion that we want to have, but I think you're going to have a real steep hill to climb with that type of an employer. It might not be impossible, but definitely it's going to be an issue that you're going to have to watch carefully. Okay, Mohit says, I've finished 4 years of mechanical engineering, tool and die, diploma from India. If I will do ECA, can I get 3 years of equivalency in Canada? Well, just go to WES or one of the educational credential assessment agencies, and they will make that call based on an assessment of your actual academic record. Okay, Adolfo says, hi, Mark. If a C20 work permit, which is the reciprocal work permit, basically C20s mean that the company has operations in multiple jurisdictions in the world. Canadians have opportunities to travel abroad and do on transfers with that company and to obtain work permits in other locations. And so because of that reciprocity, Canada will then let the company transfer people from other jurisdictions into Canada on work permits. So that's really what the C20 is, among other purposes. That's one that it's commonly filled. So C20 work permit holders promoted in the same company and team, can they start working on the new job after applying for the new work permit, moving from analyst to supervisor? That's one that I can't answer for you, actually. I would need to look at a whole host of things, including the job description. Often, if changes are occurring within the same NOC code, there is some arguments to be made that you need to get a new work permit. But anytime you're changing jobs within the company, you really need to get proper legal advice as to whether or not you can start work in that new position. Because if it looks like the positions are just different enough, then you would have to wait for that work permit to be processed before you could move into the new job. Canada in the past has had some policies that allowed for workers to change jobs and be able to start on the day that the work permit, well, not on the day the work permit's filed, but early by requesting a special authorization from IRCC. So there was these early work kind of policies that were in place. And Adolfo, I haven't looked to see if the policy is still in place. Traditionally, it was reserved for employer-specific work permits like LMIAs. And for C20, I have not myself. Excuse me. Boy, I had a late night last night. For me, I have not had a chance to look at that particular issue in the context of a C20. So I cannot answer that one, but definitely if you've got a C20, the company probably has counsel and they should be able to give you direction. So if they've hired, your company has a lawyer that's representing them, those lawyers should be able to tell you exactly when you can start the new position. But please be careful, Adolfo, because IRCC will look at that. They do this all the time when people are applying for post-grad work permits. They go back, look to see if the person is still working during that time period when they had to stop. If there's any non-compliance, they'll just refuse. So, okay. And then Sam, I know you said you can watch here. I'm still waiting because I don't quite see where. Let's go back and just refresh the page and see if it's showing up here. Let's see. I just flipped back here and I still don't quite see it. Yeah, it's definitely going to be scripted. I don't see any other. Okay, where are they live? So they're live now. Where are they, OC? Okay, that's great, but where? They are live now. Global News on YouTube has the immigration announcement. Okay, great. Let's just see. Let's just see here. Let's see if we can find. Okay. I also appreciate it when we post about. Okay. This looks like it, guys. Okay, let me know if you can hear this. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. Okay, can you guys hear this? No, we can't. Okay. Okay, let's see what we need to do here. Just give me 1 second. This is all what they're doing right now. I'm going to try to get the sound working. What they're doing right now is just doing introductions. So let's just see here. Did that do anything, you guys? Can you hear anything now? So Shane says, no, they can't yet. Yeah, I got the input is from my stream, but let's just see here. Let's see here. It's not quite, I'm using Ecamm Live, so just give me a second here. Let's see if we can figure this out. Hang tight, you guys. So hang tight, guys. I'm just looking for the solution here. I know there's a setting. I just haven't done it for a while. How about that? Does that work now? Can you hear it now? Say yes, you guys. Henry said no, but is there someone? Can you hear it now? There you go. We have a minister. No. Ah, man. Just hang tight here.
For this opportunity. 130 years is significant, and thank you for everything that you do to support our businesses and our communities.
1 second here.
Thrive. Thank you for all the guests for being here today. I know there's a winter happening, so I hear, and snow, but I see all the tables filled, so it's wonderful to see everybody. Let me begin by acknowledging that we're gathered on the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, and as well as the Haudenosaunee and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Thank you to my Deputy Minister, Dr. Kochar, for also being here with me today. I'm pleased to speak to you today about immigration. It's something that is deeply woven into my personal story and into Canada's story. I was born in Halifax, but spent much of my childhood in my parents' homeland.
Can you pick anything up now?
In a mountainous village in northern Lebanon.
Hear it. Oh, you guys can hear it.
My elementary schooling was in French and Lebanese language.
Okay.
Lorsque la guerre a éclaté, nous sommes revenus au Canada et j'ai dû m'adapter à un nouveau mode de vie, notamment à la langue anglaise. Upon returning to Canada, I had to adapt to a new way of life, including learning English. Ces événements ont façonné ma façon de comprendre l'expérience des nouveaux arrivants. These events have helped shape how I understand the newcomer experience. I know that immigration can be a powerful opportunity for Canada and newcomers alike when the right strategy is in place. My experience as a lawyer, as a former Minister of Immigration for Nova Scotia, has also inspired valuable insights that shape my decision-making every day.
But you rarely appear,
We are
Minister.
approaching the current immigration challenges with determination, with focus, and with compassion. And we're making progress. In January, I was pleased to announce that we met our immigration targets that we set in 2025. That was a big deal, by the way. We met each and every one of them. So it shows you that we can do what we decide to do. Today is a great opportunity to reflect on what immigration in Canada looked like when I took this role 9 months ago, compared to where we are today. I'll discuss how we're regaining control of and restoring stability to Canada's immigration system. I will share some of the many steps that we are taking to ensure the system supports Canada's economy and social fabric. And I'm going to start with the global pandemic that we will never forget, those of us that have lived it, and everyone has in this room, in 2019, when with our healthcare and economy in crisis, Canada used immigration to address urgent labor shortages and to support our recovery. Unfortunately, it also grew our population faster than many Canadian communities could absorb, also putting pressure on housing, on infrastructure, and on social services. When Prime Minister Carney, our new Prime Minister, appointed me as Immigration Minister last May, the task was clear: rétablir le contrôle, l'équilibre et la confiance dans notre système d'immigration, restore control and balance, and rebuild confidence in our immigration system. Attract the best and brightest to advance the Canadian economy, all while meeting our humanitarian objectives.
Yeah, and what about French, Minister?
We needed a reset. So we took a thorough, honest look at pressures across the system and worked with partners across government and the country to set clear immigration targets within a measured framework. Canadians gave our government a clear mandate to reduce and stabilize immigration, and that is what we are doing.
Yeah.
We've reduced new permanent residents to less than 1% of the population.
Which was
Nous
there
réduisons la
long before you
population de
came in.
résidents non permanents, y compris les étudiants étrangers et les travailleurs temporaires, pour atteindre l'objectif de moins de 5% d'ici à la fin de 2017. We are reducing the non-permanent resident population, including international students and temporary workers, to reach the target of below 5% by the end of 2027.
Right now.
Nous modernisons notre système d'octroi de l'asile. We are modernizing our system of asylum. Nous observons déjà des résultats, and we are clearly seeing results.
Yes.
2025, asylum claims declined by a third. We also saw over 50% fewer arrivals of temporary workers and international students in 2025 than in 2024. And we are already seeing positive impacts. Rents are trending down in general.
I'm just going to stop her right here, and I want to explain something, you guys. So the Liberals really cannot take any credit, well, for reducing the number of study permit holders. The reason that there's a far fewer study permit holders is because there's no pathway to permanent residence, right? Those of you that are here, I think there's about 15% of you that have a realistic chance of getting permanent residence. So when they pat themselves on the back and they say, hey, look at this, we've taken measures to reduce the number of study permit holders. Well, the one measure that they did was basically killing job offer points and allowing so many people in all at once that now the pathway to permanent residence is not what it once was. And that's why international students, there are some that just truly came here to study, get a good education, but so many were using it as a pathway to permanent residence. And now that that's really been turned upside down, that's why the numbers are dropping.
Here in Toronto, rents are down, and the city has reported easing demand from refugees and asylum seekers. As a result, confidence in immigration is starting to return. We've achieved this in part by paying attention to local, provincial, and territorial priorities, and by focusing on results people can see in their daily lives.
The results that they're talking about is basically fewer immigrants, full stop. They claim that the workers are international, basically international foreign workers, are taking jobs of Canadians. They are taking housing away from Canadians. They're putting pressure on the social network. And absolutely, it plays a role. Like, you can't be naive to say that that's not a reality. But the issue I've always had is the method that they use. It's always been this massive knee-jerk. And you cannot tell me for one instance that this isn't 95% political. So when they're listening to people, they're basically saying, we want to do whatever it takes to keep ourselves in power. And even though immigrants, we loved you and you were a big part of our political campaigns in the past, you know, heralding the need for foreign workers to help our country meet its long-term goals, because we are a socialist country. We need workers who are going to come, work, pay into our social networks, our employment insurance, our CPP, our Canadian pension, so that the workers that are retiring can be supported by the new workers coming in. And so that's always been kind of the mission. But when the election numbers weren't great last year, the Liberals completely flipped in what their mission was. And, you know, it's interesting just over the years how, and all political parties do this. It's not just the Liberals. They all do. I'm sure if the Conservatives got elected, they would be doing the exact same things the Liberals are. But it's always so fickle. It's always so fickle. All right, let's see what else she's got to say here.
Lorsque les nouveaux arrivants aident à combler des besoins en main-d'œuvre, à construire plus de maisons et améliorer l'accès aux soins de santé, tous les Canadiens en profitent. When newcomers help fill labor gaps, build more homes, strengthen access to health care, all Canadians benefit. Confidence grows when outcomes are predictable for employers, for communities, and for the country.
Okay, I'm going to stop her here. Back in 2020, trying to remember what year I was in national chair, we had discussions, actually 2019, we had discussions with the Liberal Party that there were too many international students that were coming in and that there was going to be a real mess with this because they want to obtain permanent residence. Well, we were told then by, I think it was Minister Mendicino at the time, oh no, that's not an issue. And, they don't need to worry about it. And we warned them. And that's largely why we're in the situation that we're in right now. It's because they didn't manage things the way they should have.
So in a city like Toronto, where global talent, capital, and innovation intersect, predictability is essential. Institutions need to know the rules that will be applied and that they will be applied consistently and will not change midstream. This stability allows Canadian institutions and stakeholders to plan long-term. A predictable, strong foundation helps us meet current and anticipated future economic demands. Right now, my department is investing a great deal of focus and energy on attracting and retaining global talent, bringing in the right people to help build a stronger future. Bien faire les choses dépend à grande partie de la façon dont nous sélectionnons les nouveaux arrivants. So getting this right largely depends on how we select these newcomers. Across departments, our governments are embarked on an ambitious international talent attraction strategy.
Okay, I'm going to stop here once again. The reality is we have right now in our country more talented, exceptional people than we could ever need. And this messaging that we are now still looking to try to find the best and the brightest, I take great issue with this, Minister, because we have exceptional people here in the country right now. For example, I have a CEO who's this wonderful woman who runs a company in Vancouver. And right now she doesn't have a pathway to permanent residence because she's too old. She's over 40. She's lost all her age points. So this is a little bit of a fiction here that the minister's talking about. I don't doubt that we can always use more talented individuals, but we are not going to be the world's tech hub. Our economy is not designed to reward entrepreneurs. It's not. Our economy is designed to reward those who make employment, relationships, who are working traditional jobs, who are paying taxes in the traditional sense. And, the tech hub, they're going to go to the US. They're not going to stay here. And so if we are under this fiction that somehow we're going to be this innovative country, until we offer incentives for entrepreneurs and the like to, startups to actually come and make it a good place to do business, it's just not going to happen. And, the top talent's going to go where the top jobs are, where the wages are. Now, obviously things are happening in the US that's, putting some strain on individuals who just don't like to, don't want to live in a country where what's happening in the US is happening. And then they will maybe choose Canada for other reasons other than financial. But it's a reality. So it troubles me when they talk about bringing more people in when we have so many people right here and now who've devoted and given so much to the country. And now they're saying, sorry, we never promised anything to you, when actually they did. And you're just going to have to go home. And that's all the steps that they're taking have been designed to do that.
Au ministère de l'Immigration, nous utilisons les outils dont nous disposons pour attirer des talents qui font croître notre économie et comblent d'importantes pénuries de main-d'œuvre. At Immigration, we are using the tools at our disposal to attract talent that grows our economy and that fills key labor shortages.
Okay, I'll just address here very quickly Sala's question. Why is she speaking alternatively between English and French? Because we're a bilingual country, and this is what the government does when they have announcements. They will speak in both, and then they will also have both of those translated. There's people in Quebec who this addresses, and they may not speak English, and so it's a way of acknowledging that we're a bilingual country. All right, let's hear about this attracting the best and brightest.
Our express entry system is, which I know most of you know about, is at the core of our approach for attracting and retaining the skilled workers Canada needs.
Okay, so I'm going to address this as well, and I don't mean to keep cutting this off. They keep harping on the fact that express entry is all about attracting the best and the brightest and the most suited for economically establishing and helping with our labor force and all these kinds of things. French is an indicator that a person is bilingual and could function very well in Quebec. But when it comes to across the country, there is no economic advantage other than if you're working for a government job or there's some inherent need for French. 95% of those positions that where our shortages are, having French and living in British Columbia or Alberta or Manitoba or Saskatchewan or Prince Edward Island or even Nova Scotia really is not going to improve your ability to economically contribute. Now, there are some exceptions where bilingualism is an important part of the job, where you're servicing both Quebec and the English portions of Canada. But this is one of the biggest kind of twisted things that just really irritates me, because there are other mechanisms in place to put this, to meet their goals with ensuring French language. I'm sure she's probably going to address it, but I wouldn't be surprised actually if she didn't, and they just kept it on the low down and don't say anything about it. All right, let's hear what she says.
Express Entry is an online system that we use to manage applications for 3 permanent residence programs. These are the Canadian Experience Class, the Federal Skilled Workers, and the Federal Skilled Trades. Just as an aside, when that Express Entry system was started in 2015, I was Minister of Immigration in Nova Scotia, and I was the first minister in the province that actually pulled the button and got on board with that system. And I know there's been a number of enhancements done, and hopefully today you will hear some more. So in category-based rounds of invitations, we invite candidates in the Express Entry pool with the skills and experience we need to boost our capacity in key sectors and occupations. Candidates are awarded points and ranked in the pool based on skills, education, language ability, work experience, and other factors, the things that our employers are looking for. Aujourd'hui, je suis ravie de pouvoir profiter de cette occasion pour vous annoncer comment IRCC peaufinera Entrée Express en 2026. So today I welcome the opportunity to announce how IRCC will sharpen Express Entry in 2026.
Sharpen. Okay.
Premièrement,
Categories will be cut. Sharpen means cut.
Maintenir les catégories existantes qui fonctionnent. So first, we will continue the existing categories that are
I can tell you that they're definitely not going to drop French. Okay.
working. That means IRCC will continue to hold invitation rounds to select candidates with strong French skills, as well as those with work experience in the following fields.
I wonder if I have a... No, that's not quite the sound effect. I wish I had a gong.
Healthcare and social services,
Okay, healthcare.
such as nurse practitioners, dentists, pharmacists.
Now, when they release this, we have to look at the list, you guys, because the category will be there, but ultimately what occupations are on that list and which ones are not, that's where the devil's in the details. So healthcare will continue to exist.
Psychologists, chiropractors, etc. We will do the same with trades, such as carpenters, plumbers, machinists.
Of course.
These categories will support our government's nation-building, housing, and infrastructure projects. We will support education occupations, science, technology, engineering, math.
Okay, but understand they've removed all the tech. So science, engineering, and math, it's really SEM, not STEM, but we have not seen a draw since 2024.
These STEM categories include engineers and cybersecurity specialists. Tomorrow's economy will be driven by innovation and technologies like artificial intelligence.
Of course.
Growing these industries creates jobs and opportunities for the future. So that was first.
So basically she's saying, all right, so what's in? Healthcare, STEM, French. But like I said, we have not seen a round of invitations for STEM. I don't know how far back. It's been over a year. Now let's see, of the remaining ones, what's being cut.
Second, today we are introducing new categories designed to meet and support Canada's evolving needs and reflect our government's determination to attract the best talent to Canada.
Okay, so this is a lead-in for sure to probably executives, 00 kind of knock C-suite folks. So let's see, because they've said they were going to do something about this.
Here's our new express entry categories for 2026. If I had drums, I would say drum roll here. Thank you. We're adding categories for researchers and senior managers.
Okay, so that's it. You heard it. So researchers, so that's people, academia has suffered because the professors are too old. They're not getting spots because they're too old. And senior managers, that's code for 00s. So remember, when they pulled the job offer points for anyone, all of those senior executives who were getting their ITAs because they got 200 points were out of luck. They have created categories like this because of fraud, because of the cheaters and scammers who destroyed that whole system. The corruption. Man, I wish I was the head of police. I would literally strip PR of anyone, any scammers, any business owners who are permanent residents. I would take the Canadians, I'd throw them in jail. I would crack down on that whole fraud as if it was a criminal nature. Well, for as far as I'm concerned, fraud is criminal. And anyone participating in buying or selling of job offers, I would immediately remove them from country. So there's no opportunity so that the genuine people could benefit from it. But unfortunately, our government doesn't have the teeth to actually enforce. So instead, they just cancel programs. So what they're doing now is creating a separate one. So the work experience, you can really assess whether they're proving that they actually are working in those occupations versus an LMIA that in the past was bought and paid for.
With Canadian work experience, recognizing that in certain occupations, many years of experience are required to make meaningful contributions.
Okay, I'll stop there. So what she added to that was that researchers and senior managers with Canadian experience. So much like the docs, if you're here and you've worked, basically you're eligible under CEC. We'll see if they require 1 or 2 years experience. Okay, you've proven yourself, so then we'll create this category for you. Remember, the other categories don't have, those category-based draws don't have a minimum Canadian experience. So someone outside of the country who speaks French or who has one of the knock codes for STEM could get through the federal skilled worker program if their human capital was high enough, although it's difficult.
By providing a clear path to permanent residence, we're supporting the broader federal efforts to drive innovation and growth, including a $1.7 billion initiatives announced in December by Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada to attract world-leading researchers to Canada.
So this is a bone that they're throwing back to the universities, okay? So they're basically saying, look, we're cutting the allocations to schools. We know that you are going to have a difficult time recruiting people now because the pathways to permanent residence are not very enticing. So what we're going to do is we are going to give you your own category for PR so you can tell these researchers, these professors that are coming in, that they will have an opportunity to stay permanently through this program. So it's a bone they're throwing back after, slashing basically a large portion of the universities across the country, their income, because they don't have as many international students that are coming now. The universities are a huge lobby.
We're also adding categories for candidates with work experience in transport occupations, including pilots, aircraft mechanics, and inspectors.
Okay, this is good because I have a client that I just went through who's looking at options who is a pilot. So we'll see.
We've identified these sectors as areas in critical need. Strengthening those helps us move goods across the country and to new markets.
But we'll see. Are truck drivers still on that list, right? Because if we go back to the shift back here, you can see trade occupations transport was stripped. There used to be a transport, then they moved it. So now I guess the lobbying groups have pushed it back.
Supporting trade, supply chains, and economic resilience. And finally, we are creating a new category for skilled military recruits to attract highly skilled foreign military applicants.
So why are they talking military? It's because Canada has obligations in the international community to increase our military spending, to shore up the deficiencies that we have allowed to happen through the previous Liberal government. So funding to the military, funding to sustaining our national defense has been just gutted, and now they're realizing that the international community is putting pressure on them that they need to spend. And part of that is getting people who know how to run the military, people that have experience, those kinds of things. And so they say, look, if you've got experience and you can come and help us get our military back up to speed, then we will have pathways to permanent residence for you. Those who've actually served with the Canadian Armed Forces, there is a direct pathway to citizenship that exists right now for them if their service with the Canadian Armed Forces or in conjunction with them fits within a certain time period. I've got a client who unfortunately didn't fit. We're still trying to get him through, but this is why that category is there. So understand, everything is political.
Eligible recruits with a job offer from the Canadian Armed Forces, including doctors, nurses, pilots, can be invited to apply for permanent residence. They will be subject to the same security and all military requirements. This new category will support our government's commitment to strengthen our armed forces, to defend our sovereignty, and to keep Canadians safe. This category and other priority categories supports Canada's defense industrial strategy, which Prime Minister Carney announced yesterday, by adding a range of workers critical to support our sovereignty and security. Enfin, je vous rappelle qu'en décembre, j'ai annoncé une nouvelle catégorie Express 2026 réservée aux médecins étrangers ayant de l'expérience de travail au Canada. And finally, by way of a reminder, in December, I announced a new dedicated 2026 Express Entry category for foreign medical doctors with Canadian work experience. Le fait de tracer clairement la voie à suivre vers la résidence permanente aide à garder les médecins au Canada et favorise un meilleur accès aux soins. Providing a clear pathway to permanent residence helps keep doctors in Canada and supports better access to care. The first round for doctors and a separate round for other healthcare professionals is happening this week.
I just refreshed the
Finally,
page.
it's important to highlight that Express Entry continues to support our long-term commitment to strengthen Francophone vitality across Canada. Récemment, j'ai eu le plaisir d'annoncer que pour la 4e année consécutive, le Canada a dépassé son objectif en matière d'immigration francophone, atteignant près de 9% d'admission au Québec de personnes francophones. So I recently announced that for the 4th year in a row, Canada has exceeded its target for Francophone immigration, reaching nearly 9% of admissions outside Quebec.
Yeah, I can tell you this isn't accurate. It's not 9% of admissions outside of Quebec. It's way more than that. If you're looking at the Francophone only category, well, yeah, understand that it's skyrocketing. And they're not talking about Express Entry generally. They're talking about overall admissions. And so it gets watered down to some extent because the other programs don't have French bonus points. But for Express Entry, it is a massive number of those receiving ITAs right now that have some French.
2026, le Canada a un plan ambitieux visant à accueillir plus de 30 000 nouveaux arrivants francophones chaque année au cours des 3 prochaines années pour atteindre un objectif de 12% d'immigration francophone hors Québec d'ici 2029. Plus de francophones, ce sont aussi plus d'enseignants, plus d'infirmières, plus d'entrepreneurs et de travailleurs qui contribuent concrètement à la vitalité économique de nos communautés. Il s'agit de professions identifiées par les intervenants comme étant particulièrement en demande. So more francophones also means more teachers, more nurses, more entrepreneurs and workers to contribute to the economic vitality of our communities. These are professions that have been identified by stakeholders as being in particularly high demand. My department is working hard to broaden and intensify our recruitment efforts. As I mentioned earlier, IRCC's effort to attract talent is part of our government's international talent attraction strategy. We're not waiting for the right people to find us. We will go out into the world to recruit the people our country needs, to connect them with Canadian employers, and to highlight why Canada is the place, the best place in the world to build their careers and lives. Employers can plan, hire, and invest with confidence with an express entry program that functions effectively for them. Alors que nous cherchons à recruter et à maintenir en poste les travailleurs dont nous avons besoin, nous savons qu'il y a toujours place à amélioration et le travail se poursuit. So as we work to recruit and retain the workers we need, we know there's always more room to improve, and the work is ongoing. We are listening, we are refining how we select and score candidates in the express entry system. We have an open dialogue because we know that is central to our decision-making, for me as minister and for my department. We're also working closely with provinces and territories to make improvements. This includes helping reduce barriers and support faster pathways to careers in Canada through the Foreign Credential Recognition Program. All levels of governments must work together to grow Canada's economy. Whether it's employers and entrepreneurs, regional and community leaders, refugees and settlement groups, I can tell you that we are listening, and we...
Okay, once she's done, we'll definitely go and we'll take a look at it. As people are pointing out, the new requirement is 12 months, not 6 months of experience. So we'll take a look at the categories right after she's done.
Are making decisions that, while tough, are necessary in order to get our system back to balance. Moins d'un an après le début du mandat de notre gouvernement, nous réalisons des progrès. Less than a year into our government's mandate, we are making progress. Success depends on discipline, and I don't need to tell you that, you're business people in the room. I know as family, we live by that. Success depends on discipline, and without it, we risk its progress and the trust of Canadians. My department is restoring control to immigration so that it remains sustainable, targeted, and able to support Canada's economic growth and labor force needs. Merci beaucoup, and thank you very much.
I wonder if she's going to take any questions. Nope, she's not. She's chicken liver. She is not in a position to take any questions. She reads from a script. Very disappointed in that. Now she can run away. Run away. Oh, no, she's there. Maybe she'll take a question. Oh.
Hi, everyone.
Exciting.
Can you hear me? Hi. Thank you very much for coming today. And I have to say thank you very much for coming today. Immigration, I have worked with the last 5 immigration ministers. Immigration is one of the hardest files in the cabinet. It's extremely complicated. It's something that from every single angle there is some group, whatever decision you make, it impacts different people.
Oh,
and it's
I don't
our
know if we
national
got time to sit
security.
around and listen to this.
It's the strength of talents. We are living in a world that brain.
Okay, we don't care about him.
With the new class and everything else. So first, I want to acknowledge and thank you for your public service and
Okay, blah blah.
Very much. I think you just said everything I want to say. So you're right, it does take a lot of courage. This is not an easy file, and
Okay, we'll give it a few minutes and see if she has anything useful to say here.
However, my job has been made quite easy. It's focused, it's targeted. Prime Minister Carney gave us a mandate, and the mandate is very clear, and that is to restore public confidence in immigration.
Public confidence that was at its all-time low because of the Liberal Party's initial decisions. So public confidence in immigration was pretty darn high in 2015 when they took power. And over that time, it has slowly deteriorated. And then it reached the stage where now they had to take, at least in their mind, some crazy steps to basically push all these people that they welcomed in to basically shove them out. And that's the issue that I have. It's pretending like, well, it wasn't our fault. It was just the COVID, right? It was COVID's fault. And now we're in a situation where we're just having to right the ship a little bit. And it was no one's fault. It just happened. They allowed it to happen. And they allowed all of you who are now facing the reality that you're one of the 3%, 2%, whatever that they want of overall total population that they want out of the country.
To reduce the permanent, to reduce the temporary resident population, which includes temporary workers and students, to stabilize our permanent residents' entry to Canada, but also to reach 12% Francophone immigration.
See, she didn't say that in English. Understand, you guys. Right now, they said, I think, 9% of Francophone immigrants. That's the percentage of through the federal English programs, notwithstanding there's a whole French program itself for Quebec. So 9%, they want to get to 12%. So French is still everything.
Between now and 2029. And
2029, that's when they're going to be up to 12% French. Well, they're already going to hit it. They'll probably hit it next year.
To concentrate on the global international talent that we really need to attract. And that is exactly what we're doing. I'm proud to say we've been able to, as you've heard in my speech and you know very well, we've been able to, we have 393,500 people that we accepted into permanent residency in 2025. So that was our target. We met that. We have also stabilized our, well, we've reduced the temporary resident population to the number that we needed to reduce. And I know you're going to ask me a question on that, so I won't say any more. But we've also...
In other words, she knows that he's going to softball her all the questions in advance, so she's well prepared. So basically, I don't know if they'll take any questions from the audience. These are all softball questions that she already knows that he's going to ask her. So it's all prepped up, which is also disappointing.
Achieved our Francophone immigration target, and we are building on our global attraction strategy, which is a whole of government approach. It's not just IRCC, but I work with ISAT, I work with Department of Defense, I work with many departments in order for us to be able to achieve on those results.
Yes, so I want to push back. Like, we had this conversation before. When the 5% target came, like, we all agreed that, like, Immigration Canada, I think you said it very well, needed a reset. Being in this country, this beautiful country, is such a big asset, such a big privilege.
Okay, I just want to address something. The reason we're still listening to this is because sometimes in the course of these questions, when a minister's kind of scrambling or fumbling, they will let slip a few things about what they're thinking about in the future, but is not yet scripted to release or announce. So in the course of them asking questions, sometimes ministers will, off the cuff, talk about things that are in their mind, which they're already talking about within the department that with respect to future changes.
That whatever policy we do, it's been taken advantage and they're going to be bad actors. So this reset of immigration is a nature for this file. When the 5% came, the goal was to make population of Canada flat. And right now we are declining population. As we continue declining, do you see we're going to have an ease on the 5%, or you think the 5% is set regardless of whatever the population decline going to be?
So thanks for the question. When you talk about 5%, that is only for temporary. That does not include our permanent residency. And as you see, we have our targets that we will be admitting into permanent residency each and every year, and we have met them and we will continue to meet them. So, but we really did need to decrease our temporary resident population. I mean, when you come, and we need people to understand that when you come here on temporary visas.
Okay, I'm going to stop her right here. Okay, let's go back and let's watch all the videos from Mendicino, Fraser, especially those two, and even their predecessors. They had no words like she's going to say coming out of their mouth. International students, people that come, join us. There's pathways to permanent residence. They literally opened up the door wide. And now what they're saying is, oh, we never said, we never promised. You're temporary. It was always temporary. You watch what she says here. You just watch.
Whether it's visitor, whether it's students, whether it's worker, that it is temporary until such time and unless you decide to apply for permanent residency and you find a pathway.
In other words, too bad, so sad. It was always temporary. You never had a right to come to Canada. Permanent residence was for those who, who are eligible. And if there isn't spot, we don't owe you anything. That is what she's saying.
Otherwise, it is really temporary. And I believe people are hearing that and are feeling that. And with the fact that we've decreased a little bit less than what perhaps some thought we should be decreasing in last year, I think that's a good thing.
What? So basically she's saying, well, we could have decreased even more, but we're such good people. We're only causing 80% of the foreign workers in Canada to go home, and maybe other people wanted 95% of them. So like this is smooth talking here.
Because it sets us up to being on target 2026, 2027.
Okay, her targets. I want to address this as well. No one is saying that we should not have a very measured and planned and strategized immigration, goals, essentially. No one is saying that, you guys. We're not saying that you should just open up the borders and let everybody come in who wants to come. No one is saying that. But the issue I have with all of this is that for political reasons, they basically turn their back on all the people that are here, the vast majority. And I get it. The housing, there's a crunch, but they're here. So in my mind, would it not make sense to help to facilitate the people that are here to be able to stay? And if there are individuals that have skilled work experience and they meet the eligibility for CEC, well, I think that's a good starting point. And I think they should be given priority. And I don't think that they needed the knee jerk that they did. I think they could have said, look, we're going to drastically reduce the incoming people, new people to Canada. We're going to cut those numbers down, and then we're going to find ways to absorb the people that are here because they've spent thousands of dollars on their education, because they've worked lots of jobs that Canadians don't necessarily want to work. Okay? So my position is that they did not need to take this big, deep cut that they did. It doesn't sound like much, but when you're looking at the people that are applying for permanent residence, it is. And those who are watching this channel, you guys know what the world looks like right now. You know how just desperate you are to find some path to be able to stay. And immigration, this is the problem, right? They do not see you as real people. They see you as numbers only. Cogs in a wheel, workers in a system, a socialist system that will contribute to taxes with all of the money they've blown over the years to help replace the coffers and to be able to fund the social programs for all the rest of us as people retire in the future. And I just have huge issues with how they're this narrative that they're spinning. And no one would question that the numbers, they have to bring things into check, but it's just how they did it. That's the issue that I have. It's like with no thought or care about the real human beings that are having to go through this, the families that are looking for pathways to be able to stay, who've sacrificed so much to get here, and who are working in really high-end jobs. All right.
Yeah. So the other thing that happened, unfortunately, I had the privilege of getting my permanent residency through this program called a startup visa. Many say that's the most successful startup visa file. We hired over 1,000 employees over time in Canada and brought over $10 billion to Canadian economy. Unfortunately, the program closer to 2019 and after, way before you come in, it started like drifting sideways.
See, long before you came in, it's not your fault, Minister Diab. It's not the current cabinet's fault, Prime Minister Carney. It's Trudeau's fault. It's his cabinet and his ministers who really did all of this, and now we're just cleaning it up.
And right now, everything's like all over the place. When are we going to get our startup visa that actually works for true entrepreneurs back?
Okay, before she answers this, I can't help it. I cannot help. I love the fact I can stop her from talking and tell you what I think. You know that working through the House is the new bill that gives the government godlike powers to cancel, to refuse to process, to basically cull out inventory. Mark my words, Startup Visa is absolutely going to be on that list. They're going to cull them out. They're going to create some new fancy program. And remember, where did the Startup Visa program come from? It came from the Conservatives. It came from Jason Kenney. This was their program that they heralded as being a great way to bring in innovation and entrepreneurs to Canada. And then, of course, like anything, when people want to immigrate and there aren't pathways through the other economic streams, then they will try to wedge themselves through startup visas. And then when you use designated partners, other organizations to administer it, instead of the government doing it themselves, it doesn't matter what organization it is. There's opportunities for things to start get a little muddy, a little murky, a little, a little corrupt. And so that's what happened with the startup visa program.
So first, first of all, I've never met you before, but...
I've never met you before, but I know all the questions you're going to ask, and you're just the poster child for wonderful candidates and what they can do when they come through our startup visa program. Oh boy.
No, look, but I read, who's introducing me, so I obviously, or who is going to be questioning me. Congratulations. You are exactly who this country wants and needs.
Exactly. Clap, clap, clap. Yep. So they find someone who, one of the success stories of many failures, because lots of people came through the startup visa program and did nothing after they got their PR. So this guy is definitely one of the exceptions who's done well for himself. Good on him.
Secondly, you answered the question that you're posing me. You know what, you know the program much more than I do. I only know the program since becoming a minister and hearing different, I've never worked in that program. And, you said going sideways, this and that. You're right, it did. And there was a lot of fraud. And
did you hear that? A lot of fraud. And Bill Nye, welcome back, Bill Nye. I welcome your comments. It's been a while since you've joined us. It was filled with fraud. Yes, it was. You bet it was.
So what we are doing right now is refocusing, reorganizing, and in the plan of ensuring that we put out a system that, number one, is focused and that will achieve the results it's supposed to achieve. But we will be holding consultations and hopefully with organizations and people like you that have gone through that as well, that are successful and been used it successfully, to gain insight so that we actually do it the right way, so that we actually target the businesses that Canada really needs, and it will be at a smaller scale.
There you go. Always smaller scale, because they can't handle it when it's open. And that's what happened. People funneled in. They didn't have the ability to manage things. Same thing for the LMIAs, the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. There was a time where they did not do any of the program integrity calls. Drastically reduced numbers. It was all about pushing out LMIAs and there was not the same delay in that existed when they had to do the program integrity calls to the employers. And that's the same with the startup visa. When you push it off to third parties to manage, then corruption seeps in. It does every single time when money's involved. I wish they would just pay. I don't care if they pay people $500,000 of my tax dollars to manage a startup visa program where the knowledge and expertise, they hire industry professionals to work for the government. You pay them a good wage and they're really good at what they do. Forensic auditors who have the ability to trace funds, to know businesses, to review business plans, all these kinds of things. Instead of getting these third-party organizations who then have the ability to kind of direct the intake process, and then it's open and subject to interference.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, like over 50% of billion-dollar companies that created in Canada is built by immigrant. So if you're talking about a startup and AI, it comes with the word immigration. So thank you very much for your commitment to bring back the program.
Yeah, but the program is going to be drastically reduced. Let's just take a quick look here just so that you guys can see. And it doesn't hurt to just teach as we go. So we flip over here to processing times. Let's see if it even has the processing times. It may not. So if we look to, oh, there's startup visa. Okay. Have you already applied? We'll just say yes. Oh, let's say no. No, get processing times. As of January, it's paused. If you have a valid, okay, so you see this? Look at how many people are in the queue for the startup visa. 45,600. So do you believe that 45,600 people have these innovative ideas and thoughts on establishing businesses? Like maybe there are, but current processing times are more than 10 years. I truly believe that this program is going to be the first on the chopping block when their new godlike powers are rolled out.
I'm getting the promise. Like I could have not supported the, and I thank you on behalf of all the future Canadians on all those companies. So international students. I also was privileged to come here with University of Waterloo help. We know that people who come and study here, regardless before their PR or getting education in Canada after study, they're making $35,000 more than the people who don't get Canadian education. There are many reasons for that. One of them you said about foreign credential evaluation. They're earning income about $35,000 more. But international students is a big asset for our country. There were a lot going down. There were a lot of corrections happen. In some places, right now, we are so at the bottom. So for our university and colleges presidents that's sitting in the crowd, are we at the bottom right now? Are we going to see some rises and some things, or no, we're gonna continue doing what is happening today?
Okay, so a few things. One, international students, we value the contributions international students make, not just to our economy, but also to our social fabric. What we have seen, though, in the last number of years, which meant in 2024 adjustments needed to happen, and I think, generally speaking, everybody is pleased and proud that those adjustments happened. They needed to happen. We had seen a lot of students.
Come on, say it.
Were not receiving the education and the opportunities they were promised.
Basically, what she's talking about is all the crappy schools that popped up all over the place that were nothing but study permit mills, who offered very little in terms of upholding the level of education that was recognized and has caused Canada in the past to be recognized as a global leader for post-secondary education, where our degrees and our diplomas were recognized across the world, and having a Canadian credential actually meant something. Well, in these years, it all became about money, more and more money. Wherever there's money, then all these private schools and things popped up, and even the universities. Don't get me wrong, even the universities and colleges started creating these programs that really weren't leading to any economic benefit in the job market. These programs and degrees that really weren't weren't adding anything. And so now a lot of these are having to be cut, and you're starting to see that across the institutions, but it's probably a good thing. As far as I'm concerned, post-secondary institutions should be run similar to businesses, where they have to look very carefully at where the money is coming in. And if they don't have the money coming in, then they need to look at offering programs that are going to create the most bang for the buck of the students, not giving degrees or diplomas that really have no pathway to any permanent residence. Like, gone are the days when people go to university just for liberal education so they can be prepared for, a more holistic look of the world. Like, those days are gone, because people have to pay for those studies, and they're very expensive. And for international students, it's even more.
And so the other thing is, we never had caps. The country never had caps on that. Yeah. And so in 2024, we started to introduce caps. We started to introduce changes with the provinces and territories to ensure that the students that are coming to study are really getting the education that they deserve, but also that there's also services, and that the communities are able to, that have the capacity to absorb the students and be able to provide them housing, etc. I can say to you that with the changes that have been done in 2024 and 2025, it is working. Education is a provincial responsibility, constitution.
See, once again, it's not our fault. We didn't let all the international students in. It was the provincial counterparts who did. It was those who chartered these schools in the first place, who allowed for these schools to be created, who didn't put any caps on the number of students, that these institutions, really have space for. So this is once again passing the buck.
And so what we do at IRCC is we give we set the targets, but we allow the provinces and the territories to select with their universities and colleges the students that they need in terms of the program that they want. And
except for the fact that IRCC is the one that holds all of the power in that equation. Because if the student is not able to get the study permit, which is fully squarely on the shoulders of IRCC, then they're not coming to study, no matter how much the university loves them, wants them, and the province thinks they'd be a great fit. It's still IRCC that drives the ship with international students, and always will be.
So, and we will continue to work with the provinces and territories on that.
Yeah. If someone asks me which type of questions you're probably making daily and what are the toughest ones, I would say about anything that is around asylum seekers. From one side is a huge Canadian values for over a century that Canada is welcome.
And once again, these are softball questions, you guys. So basically, she knows he's going to be asking these questions. He's scripted everything.
People who need a home. And
he's trying to ask these questions in a normal and natural way, but he doesn't know anything about refugee status or anything. He's trying to articulate it in a way that sounds like, yes, everybody's concerned, everybody's thinking about this. Well, actually, no. Most people are not thinking about the refugee portfolio. I know us immigration lawyers are. I was so happy that a family here in my community that I assisted on a pro bono capacity were able to get their refugee claim approved. And oh my goodness, did we have to work. As we were going through that hearing, and it's the first one I've done in 15 years, it took me like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, just to prepare, reading everything I could on the current state of refugee law to be able to adequately represent them. And when we went into that hearing, we'd provided a substantial amount of data. Our written submissions were very detailed. But even then, in the course of that hearing, when the principal applicant, the principal claimant, was being questioned by the member of the Immigration Refugee Board, I was thinking to myself, how is anyone going to get a refugee claim accepted? Like, the standard is so high when you've got issues like state protection and internal flight alternatives and things like that that are not even related to whether or not you were actually persecuted, that can undermine the claim. And so Yeah, so let's see where they go from here, see what she has to say about this. Now, basically what they're doing is they're trying to streamline it because there are so many refugee people that have made refugee claims when they saw that, the writing was on the wall and they couldn't stay. It's now caused the refugee program to just balloon out of control.
A lot of the contribution they've done over the last couple of decades. But in the last couple of years, in particular after 2017, there are a lot of bad actors happen, and also a lot of geopolitical things happen in the world that raised the number to the thing that, as you said, immigration is kind of a scarce commodity. We don't have room for, unfortunately, we don't have room for everything else. I want to hear what is your take on what IRCC is going to do about that. I know it was a 33% reduction last year, but also we are approaching FIFA. And it's going to be a lot of people are going to come to this country to watch the games. And probably there's no perfect answer, but I would love to hear, what's the plan?
What's the plan? Here we go. So Canada is a signatory to the International Convention, and we are proud to welcome people that are in real danger and need refuge to Canada. What we've encountered over the last number of years, though, is that people that have been in the country for a while starting to claim asylum.
Okay, listen carefully to this, okay? So what she's referencing now is people that have been in the country for a while who now are starting to claim asylum. So they're talking about all of you international students who became foreign workers, who saw your work permits expiring, you couldn't extend your postgrad, who then filed a refugee claim. She's talking to you folks.
That is not, asylum is not to be seen by people that they use it for immigration pathways. We have clear immigration rules, clear laws. People need to use those laws. The asylum system is there for those people that are in real need of danger. So we have...
Well, I don't think she meant... I love how that's not scripted. So people are actually... They're not in real need of danger. They're in real need of protection from danger or harm, right? And that's what she's getting at here. But they're basically looking at cracking down on anyone that has filed claims where they've been here for years on study and work, and now they're claiming that there's some ground for refugee status, and it's creating a huge bottleneck within the system, and they are going to clean house.
Really worked very hard, I have to say, on visa integrity. We have anybody that is getting a visa, whether it's, doesn't matter what line it is, again, visitor, student, worker, whatever, there's all kinds of scrutiny that people now go under, and as a result, yes, there is quite a bit of rejections, but that...
Okay, so now what she's talking about, this heightened scrutiny, is whatever version of AI they're using to scrub applications. So never before did they have the ability to go through every single thing that you filed with immigration and then question you on inconsistencies. It just didn't happen. Sure, every once in a while when they're doing background checks, they'll see that you forgot to disclose a visitor visa refusal, like a B2 visa to the US. And then they say, oh, that's misrepresentation. We're going to refuse your application. That's been around for a long time. But now, oh, I see in your study permit application that you listed your title of your work with ABC company in Nigeria as a software analyst, and now you're describing it as a senior analyst. Well, those are two different titles. So which one is it? And were you lying then or are you lying now? That's what they're getting at. Oh, that's grounds for refusing any future applications.
That's part of the process. We want to ensure and deter people from using our immigration system improperly. We've also, and that is why we also have a legislation in front of the House that is now in front of the Senate.
Okay, this is the godlike power she's talking about. That's before the Senate, that they are going to give themselves now complete carte blanche. They don't have to go to the cabinet or whatever. Well, they're controlling the cabinet anyways, but they don't have to go through any kind of a process. They can just wipe out vast thousands of applications if they want to. This is where this is leading.
on ineligibilities, and that is to say, if you've been in Canada for over a year, you should not be claiming asylum.
Did you hear that? So anyone that's been in Canada over a year, you shouldn't be claiming asylum. And I have no doubt that they're going to retroactively apply this principle and just call out a whole bunch of applications.
That is not the right way for you to do it, and you're ineligible. We will continue to have the pre-removal risk assessment there, which allows people to be able to present to that system there, that if you really fear persecution, and there's a reason, we will look at that.
But the approval rates are like, I don't know, ultra low, like less than 5%. It's not even a meaningful process. The PRAS, the pre-removal risk assessment.
Generally speaking, that is not something you should do. So now in terms of FIFA, what I say to you is, and I saw people going like this, yes, I'm a soccer mom, so a lot of people are very excited to be hosting soccer. It is a big event. It is a hooray moment. We are proud of that. What I will say to you is people who are coming to claim asylum and to whatever, you're not going to be able to do it.
Okay, so what they're getting at now is with the World Cup, essentially, Football World Cup, people are going to come over here supporting their teams, and then once they're here, claim refugee status. And she's saying they're not going to be able to do that. So I'll be curious how they're going to do this.
We are looking anybody who buys a ticket does not guarantee them entry to Canada.
Yeah, no guarantees. Just because you got a ticket to watch one of the games, your home team doesn't mean we're going to give you a visa. So that's one thing. If you're coming from a country that there's a high rate of overstay, well, there's a good chance you're going to get it refused unless you can show you're a millionaire in your country and you have, no reason to come to Canada.
They still have to pass all the requirements of anybody coming into the country. So buying a soccer ticket does not mean you're guaranteed entry. You have to pass all through security and eligibility requirements to come to Canada if you're from a country that needs the visas. Other than that, come and enjoy yourself and then go back home. If you want to immigrate, do it through the proper channels. And, we're being honest and clear, and that's the way it needs to be.
That's how it always has been.
Very well said. Very well said.
Yeah.
On the announcement today, you mentioned about the researchers, medical doctors that
We're just about
announced
done here,
in
guys.
December. But let's go for the researchers. Right now, a lot of the biggest technologies in the world, like for example, like we've seen like recently on the revolution that's happening in AI, is created in our labs, in our universities and colleges. And it is so important that we bring the brightest people to do that. I know it was like a lot of work for your side for getting this file. I would love if you can give a little vision and how this is aligning with that $1.7 billion that was announced in the budget, and how these two together, immigration and the $1.7 billion, are going to make a prosperous Canada in the future.
Let me go back a little step on your international student piece. For 2026, we have removed the cap for international students that are coming to study in graduate programs and PhDs. So that is a change, which I'm hoping that U15 and other universities will take advantage of. And the reason for that is we want that global talent. We want those researchers. We want the best and brightest in the world to be able to come to our institutions and stay. The other thing that we've made is, through that strategy, is the department and the sector will identify those talent, and we at IRCC will help bring them here. Obviously, security and all of that still has to be passed. So whenever I say whatever, we never risk that. We always want to ensure that we are complying with our IRPA, Immigration, Refugees and Protection Act and regulations. But beside that, we will then bring them here in a 14-day processing time. So we are making it very much easier for us to bring them here. And that strategy will be able to help that, together with people from all over the globe, but also those that are in the United States that are choosing to leave.
Well, I guess we'll see who they're targeting for this. So whether it's PhD level only, but expedited processing of study permits is a pretty big deal, because there's how often have, if you're an immigration consultant or a lawyer, or even you yourself, when you apply for your study permit, the lengthy delays result in you having to defer your admission, the start date of your program, because you can't get your study permit quick enough. So if they're going to turn it around in a couple of weeks, that's a good development.
Yeah, I have to say, one of the...
By the way, I've heard there's quite a few that have already come.
Yes, absolutely. Like also under the H-1B that was happened in 2013. I have to say one thing. One of the greatest advantages that we have in Canadian immigration compared, for example, to our dear neighbors, like, for example, in the US or like a lot of things in Europe is we adjust fast. We come with the new policies. We don't afraid of like take risk and correct courses. And I think that is one of our biggest advantages. And during this correction, it was a lot of voice out there that they were saying Canada's door is shut.
Okay, I want to just add one last comment because we're just about wrapped up here. So back in, like I said, 2019, I mentioned this before. I know distinctly we had the discussion in 2019. Maybe it was 2018, probably, even earlier, 2018. It could have been 2017 when I was elected as the secretary for the National Canadian Bar Association Immigration Section. I remember having a discussion with the minister's staff about international students, expressing concerns about the numbers that were coming in back in at that time. And they couldn't understand, why the numbers were so high. And I was shocked. I said to them, look, the reason the numbers are high is because of express entry. When individuals see the bonus points they can get with Canadian education, and then having open work permits and the ability to basically guarantee their permanent residence at that time, that's why people are flooding in. That's why you have 35-year-old, parents of 2 or 3 children coming to Canada, uprooting their whole family and coming to study because they know there's, at least at the time, that there was a real good chance for permanent residence. And so I would warn them back then. And so it's just so, they talk about being nimble and course correcting. No, they course correct when there's public shaming in the media, when it looks like they're not going to get reelected, when people are finally starting to push back. Because remember, when they came into power in 2015, like immigration, the overall opinion of immigration on behalf of the vast majority of Canadians was at its all-time high. Just the support for immigration was at its all-time high because the program was managed carefully. But then it just, the Liberals let it get out of hand. And largely it was because they incentivized people in the wrong ways.
It's not shut. We are just doing some recalibration. The door is open, and the brightest people in the world, please come here, make here as home. This is a beautiful country, and there are a lot of us who would love to have you here. And you heard it clearly from the minister, came with the new policies that is making it easier for the brightest people here. I want to thank you on behalf of all Canadians as an immigrant, and also thank you for your public service, and thank you for accepting our invitation today.
Thank you very much, and you just ended it perfectly.
There we
Thank
go.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I don't think we need to listen to the end part here. Just gonna say thanks so much for coming.
Minister, on behalf of Canadian Club Toronto, thank you for your thoughtful and forward-looking remarks. We appreciate your leadership during this period of...
And you can see only softball questions, none from the actual press.
...recalibration and renewal. Martin, thank you for moderating today's discussion with your signature, insight, perspective, and humor.
Oh, yes.
Love it. I would like to once again thank our presenting sponsor, EY Law, and our event sponsor, the Carpenters Regional Council, for making today's event possible. And thank you to our production partner, VBC Live, for their consistently excellent support.
Okay, do you know what, guys?
Before we close, let me highlight a couple of upcoming events.
Okay,
on
you don't
Tuesday,
care about the
February
events,
24th,
but I'm going to jump
we host
ahead here.
Rethinking Canada's
It looks
tax
like,
system.
I'm going to pause this for a second. It looks to me like, I'm just scrubbing ahead, it looks like she may be taking questions from the press. We can't skip this, you guys. We can't skip this. Okay, let's skip ahead here. Guess she got a little drink and then, you know, she's back at her. So we can't skip this.
Okay. We will now begin our question and answer session with
this is
media.
the
I'll
fun
be your
time.
moderator. Ça me
No
fait
more
plaisir de
softballs.
modérer la séance de questions et réponses. Participation in the question and answer portion of this event is for accredited members of the media. La participation à la partie des questions et réponses de cet événement est réservée aux membres
let's see how
accrédités
she
du média.
handles non-softball.
J'aimerais également souhaiter la bienvenue à ceux et celles qui se sont joints à nous virtuellement. Welcome to those who have joined online. You're invited to ask one question in language of your choice. You're invited to ask questions in language of your choice. Please state your name and media outlet. You're allowed to ask one question and one follow-up question. Si vous avez des questions, veuillez les poser dans la langue officielle de votre choix. Vous avez le droit de demander une question et une suivi. We'll begin with questions on the floor.
Good afternoon, Minister. Thank you for your time. Lauren Battigello from CBC News. I want to start with kind of the elephant in the room for you today from us. Why do you think we've seen another Conservative decide to cross the floor to the Liberal Party?
Oh, for goodness sake, seriously.
Thanks for the
Oh,
question.
so
I've been here all
stupid.
morning. I
CBC
actually haven't.
just-
Others.
Thanks for the question. It's a good question. So we will be working
With us today, Minister. I just want to start off with
That was the
resident
stupidest
positions,
question.
and we are very much able to fulfill those targets within the levels plans that we have.
We'll now turn to a question from from online. We're going to alternate between the floor and online. So I'll turn to my colleague.
Thank you. We are now turning to those who have joined us virtually. David Baxter. A reminder to please state your name and media outlet.
there we go, David Baxter, the Canadian Press. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us today, Minister. I just want to start off with the permanent residency stream you're talking about for military personnel, the CAF recruits. Can you tell us a bit more about how this would happen? Like, are these people who would be former military personnel, like former
Okay, I'm gonna
military
skip this. We
doctors,
don't really care
or
about
is
this right
talent
now.
from foreign?
In this particular case, we would have worked with an armed force on the to
Side.
that we process them.
The researchers and senior manager side, of course, the United States looking at dramatically increasing the fees for their H-1B visas. I've been seeing quite an exodus of researchers from the Center for Disease Control, given some of the policies happening on the health side of the U.S.
Oh my goodness, come on.
How much interest from American professionals, so researchers, senior managers, has Canada been seeing since this H-1B visa policy came into effect?
Lots.
So thanks for that. We, as you know, in 2026, certainly on an international student perspective, we have removed the cap for PhD students to come, but more particularly on the researchers and scientists. Again, we work in this particular case with ISD, Innovation, Science and Research Department, who will be working with the university and other sectors to attract the talent that Canada needs in terms of these researchers.
Okay.
My role at IRCC will be to, again, expedite and process them efficiently, effectively, and in fact, in a 14-day
Same
processing
thing,
service.
expedited processing. Yep.
Okay, I think we have another question in the room. Please state your name and media outlet.
Hey, Minister Barbara with iPolitics. Good afternoon. Both Premier Ford and the Ontario Immigration Minister have been pushing for more autonomy regarding immigration for Ontario. It seems that what they're asking for is a system that is similar with the one Quebec has in place.
yeah.
Is this something you would consider, or have you been having conversations with the minister about giving them more autonomy?
So thanks for the question. I have met with the minister a number of times, and I've with the federal ministerial ministers across the land responsible for immigration. In fact, I think about 6 or 7 times, and I spoke to him bilaterally, one-on-one. We have worked on and agreed on a Canada-Ontario immigration accord that have been agreed to. I have continued to work with all provinces and all territories since coming in this position.
The biggest issue is that they have not restored back the allocations to the provinces at the level in which they had them in 2024. So they can say they're working all they want, but the reality is they hold all the power. And as far as I'm concerned, at least 75% of all economic immigrants should be given to the province to decide. They can keep 25%, whatever they feel their priorities are. But I've always felt that the provinces are in the best position to make decisions about their province and who they need, who's going to fill labor shortages, not the feds. But it's a political wedge. It's not a wedge. It's a power tool that they can use to manipulate and control the provinces. And immigration is federal. It is, and so they have the ability to do this background security screening, all those kinds of things. But in terms of selection, I've always felt that the provinces should have been given more, not less spots, and it was political as much as anything why they were taken away.
In the last 9 months to give them as much flexibility as I possibly can in their respective provincial nominee
Give more nominations, Minister, then you can talk about flexibility.
programs.
Yeah, one of the things they've been asking for, thank you for your answer, it's an increase, they seem to be not completely satisfied with the allocation that Ontario got for the Ontario nominee program.
Neither does Alberta.
They are asking
Or BC.
for more numbers to actually fill the needs Ontario has for workers. Would you be considering, or would you consider in any given moment of time to give Ontario more workers to increase the allocation for the Ontario nominee program?
So over and beyond the provincial nominee program that Ontario gets on an annual basis, I have also, on the federal numbers, given 10,000 extra spots for provinces and territories for 5,000 each to recruit doctors and healthcare professionals, as well as 5,000 for Francophone immigrants. And I invite Ontario to use those, very.
But those spots they all come with specific instructions on how to use them. They're talking about flexibility to nominate the people that they feel they need. Not that doctors and healthcare are not on the list, but I can tell you French is not on the list. This is a federal mandate. We'll give you spots back, but it's based on our terms. I take great issue with that.
The other thing is there's also rural and community pilots that Ontario communities,
programs.
a number of them also are benefiting from to, in fact, benefit the rural communities within the province of Ontario. And there's also a Francophone immigration pilot that some of the Francophone communities in Ontario are also benefiting from. So as you can see, the system works as a whole. There's many different ways.
But these things all existed before you stripped nominations away. The 5 and 5 for the doctors and the Francophone applicants, yes, that's fine. But Alberta had just about 10,000. They've got a little over 6 now. So no, don't try to spin this. You did take them away.
And I know Ontario does extremely well in the the federal express entry system, and are able to draw quite a few people with talent in various fields.
Okay, we'll turn back to our virtual journalists. Danielle?
Merci. Nous nous tournons maintenant vers les journalistes qui se sont joints à nous virtuellement. Pascal Vachon, merci de préciser votre nom et votre organe médiatique. Merci.
Oui, bonjour. J'espère que vous m'entendez bien. Pascal Vachon pour TFO. Je voulais savoir, par rapport à l'annonce d'aujourd'hui sur Entrée Express, je sais que dans les derniers mois, il y a eu beaucoup de critiques, notamment au milieu économique, qui critiquent le système de points d'entrée express parce qu'il donne trop de points aux candidats francophones. Je me demandais s'il allait y avoir des changements par rapport à ça. Puis êtes-vous d'accord avec les critiques qui sont formulées là, à l'endroit d'entrée express?
Alors, merci beaucoup pour vos questions. Si je comprends, c'est parfaitement clair que nos priorités, on a des priorités, et une de ces priorités est d'améliorer les pourcentages des francophones dehors le Québec. Alors, je suis très contente que l'année dernière, on a surmonté le pourcentage qui était 8,5 %. On a réussi à 8,9 %. Et on va continuer à faire certain qu'on cherche les meilleurs talents qui sont francophones, qui sont bilingues, parce que la dualité du Canada est qu'on a deux langues officielles, le français et l'anglais, et c'est une chose très importante pour le commerce, pour faire des échanges globaux et aussi pour tous les Canadiens ici. Alors, c'est une chose qui va rester nos priorités.
Est-ce que je peux en comprendre par votre réponse que vous contentez pas des changements, vous n'allez pas faire de changements par rapport au nombre de points qui sont accordés aux francophones dans l'Entrée Express, là, c'est hors de la table. Est-ce que c'est ça que vous dites?
Alors, si vous parlez des points, mais je peux vous suggérer que vous fassiez un contact avec le département directement, mais ce que je dis est que aujourd'hui, j'ai fait l'annonce que les catégories qui sont là vers la francophonie, because of the number of challenges we.
State your name and media.
Good afternoon, Minister. I'm Paula Saraza from Omni News. Is Canada struggling to attract grad students due to all the recent changes in immigration policies, including the international students cap? Are these stricter rules kind of backfiring when it comes to attracting talent?
So, obviously, changes were made in 2024 and 2025 to our international student program. A lot of these changes, I would say to you, Canadians,
So she's saying,
all of these students.
So basically, they're saying, okay, now that you've kind of put all these restrictions on international students, now the numbers are starting going down. Do you think it's actually harming our standing in the international realm because of how they've been treating students? So we'll just skip through this.
Will want to stay permanently, continue to do that.
And moving on to foreign workers, Minister, Ontario Premier Doug Ford is saying companies can find Canadians who can work weekends and nights, and Ottawa should do more to retain foreign workers. Is admitting fewer foreign workers hurting the economy?
I'm sorry, can you start that first part of what is he saying? I didn't get that.
So Ontario Premier Doug Ford is saying companies can't find Canadians to work weekends and nights, and Ottawa should do more to retain foreign workers. So is admitting fewer foreign workers hurting the economy?
So again, our mission is clear as set out by Prime Minister Carney, and we have a levels plan that is in place.
Okay,
and with
nothing to
regards
value
to
here.
temporary residents, our aim is to decrease the population to under 5% by 2027. Part of that is the temporary.
Okay, and you can see reducing the population by 2027, that's literally next year. So these are millions of people, millions.
For foreign workers, we will continue to work with ESDC department. Again, we work with other departments.
Yeah, they work with ESDC to find out ways that they can stop employers from applying for LMIAs. There are very few places across the country where an employer can even submit an LMIA where individuals are considered to be low-waged, which they've artificially set that low-wage threshold at, in many provinces, anywhere from $30 to $36 an hour, which is it excludes a vast majority of people that are working all across service industry, food service, whatever it might be. And that's what she's talking about here. Different ways to kind of tighten that squeeze on people so that they don't have pathways to extend their permit and they have to go home to meet their 5%, temporary resident ratio of the total population.
It is not just aid, immigration and an IRCC issue, to ensure that the workers that employers are bringing, they're bringing them to fill the shortages and the skills that are required. And we will continue to work with that and work with the numbers that we have.
Okay, we'll take another question online.
So online, we have Irep Kassir. Please state your name and media outlet.
Can I just add one thing to that? I would also encourage employers and businesses to look at the non-permanent resident population that is already in Canada, that have open work permits, that they can also employ them.
Well, of course, like that goes without saying, Minister. In fact, they're already employed. But what you're doing is once their work permits are expired, then they're gone. And it's hard for employers to make any long-term planning when you know the worker that you're hiring is only for a short term. All the training, everything that you put into hiring them, onboarding them, is just going to be gone when their work permits expire, because IRCC does not allow you to extend their permit in many cases.
I.e., there's, refugees and people that are in Canada for, on various things, they can, that can be used, and these are people that are already in Canada. First and foremost, of course, the jobs are for Canadians.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. This is İrep Çakır with Turkish Voice of Canada. Canada opened its doors to tens of thousands of people through special measures combining public policy and humanitarian approach. And among them were also those who arrived under the TS 2023 program after the devastating earthquakes in Turkey. Notably, this group is now among the first to face work permit expiries. Is the government currently working on an extension or a transition pathway for these individuals, or are they expected to leave without having had a fair chance, given that they have never had a chance to prepare portfolios for any immigration streams in the first place? And because we don't have the video feed, I cannot see you. I'll do my follow-up question here. You said Canada's way is a compassionate one in your speech, dear Minister. Many came here to protect their lives, have since integrated, and are contributing to the Canadian economy. Do you believe requiring them to leave will be consistent with Canada's humanitarian commitments, eagerness for strengthening the economy, and the international credibility? Thank you.
So Canada, as I said in my speech, is a signatory to the International Convention, and I do believe Canada is a very humanitarian and kind country to people around the globe. We are here to provide refuge to those that are in real need of protection. But again, we also have national, provincial, community absorption issue. We need to ensure that our communities are able to absorb the people that are coming to Canada, whether it's humanitarian, whether it's international students, whether it's temporary workers of all levels, which is exactly why the last year we've also started to have targets on temporary population, which we had never had before. IRCC recognizes that we need to work to be a bit more coordinated in what Canada does with other departments as well when it comes to bringing people for humanitarian reasons, and we will continue to do that. Again, we encourage anybody that is already in Canada to look at the various pathways that are available for them for permanent residency. Some people may find, some people may not, but that is part of the immigration system and the rules that we have, and we encourage everybody to look at our laws and follow those.
We have time for one quick question as well. Is there another one online?
Une dernière question via Zoom. Inès, à vous la parole. Merci.
Oui, bonjour, bonjour Madame Dab. Inès Lombardo de Franco-Presse.
If the last, I think it's going to be in French.
Je vais rebondir sur la question que mon collègue a posée tantôt sur les francophones.
Okay, we'll let that go. All right, I'm sure they'll have the full script, the full text available of this announcement. There's a great spot to close it at, isn't it, everybody? Okay, so as you can see here, this was the announcement from Minister Diab. It's interesting how Global News worded this. I was just looking at this as we were watching the live. Canada's immigration minister makes announcement amid probe by anti-extortion task force. So interesting. All right, let's jump back. I want to thank you guys for sticking around so long. It was a little bit of a different Q&A today. Very different Q&A. So any comments, any thoughts that you have, let's chat about them. Just to start off, I want to confirm exactly some of the changes that are the most impactful right now. So if we slide back here and I can show you the screen here, I want to highlight what's happened with eligibility for these categories. So you can see they've updated the categories and they've changed the eligibility requirements. I'm just going to refresh this one more time to make sure I've got the most fresh page. Okay, so let's take a quick look at this. This is the high level points. If you're just joining us, what the minister has said regarding the category-based changes to express entry. She talked about a bunch of other things, and that's all fine and dandy. It's nothing new. We know what the situation is. But the real changes are that there's been some additions to the category-based selection, and for sure there's reductions as well. But let's just take a look, because she was very mum on the reduction side of things. But let's see what the world looks like right now. So as you go through the category-based process, obviously those of you who are new to this is all designed and organized and run through Express Entry. So what are the categories? So French, right on, see this number 1. This is the huge, massive issue. By putting it number 1, they're saying, look, this is the most important thing to us, which literally drives me crazy. Because I'm sorry, this is not the most important pressing thing from an economic standpoint, which is the whole purpose and design behind Express Entry, not social engineering. And like I said repeatedly, we are a bilingual country, and absolutely there should be English and French across the country. But the reality is the extent to which they're emphasizing French is literally prejudicing the actual people that we want to be here that are going to fill the necessary positions. An individual that has French can get through with very low human capital. And those that are even going through with high comprehensive ranking system scores, it's because of the French that puts them over the edge when it comes to the general categories like CEC. So pay attention to that. So healthcare, social services occupations, they still have STEM here, although we haven't seen a draw in a long time. Trade occupations, education, transport is back on the list. It was removed before, largely I think because truck drivers were on there and they just took up a whole ton of application space. Physicians with, see, these are the new ones, and they're all of these new ones are with Canadian work experience. Physicians, senior managers, this is one that they said they were going to bring on. Researchers with Canadian experience. These are all things that when I spoke on Express Entry at our Canadian Immigration Lawyer Association conference last November in Toronto, myself and the main policy official over Express Entry, we presented in Toronto, and these were on his list. Researchers, senior managers, researchers, and skilled military recruits. So they were literally in the slide deck that he shared. So we knew these were coming. And then, of course, they threw the physicians in there. But each of these are Canadian experience. And these skilled military recruits, they could be recruited direct. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. As a way, come work with our Canadian Armed Forces, and we will give you permanent residence. Okay? All right, let's keep zipping through here. Okay, next on the list. As we go down here, let's take a look at the specific categories. So one thing I want is how they choose, they report on it, blah, blah, blah, who's eligible. So here is one of the main changes that we see here. So for to be eligible for an invitation through a category-based round, you must meet the minimum criteria for Express Entry. So that's eligibility under the under Canadian Experience Class, FSW, Federal Skilled Worker Program, or the Federal Skilled Trade Program. So, including being eligible for one of the 3 programs it covers and meet all the requirements in the instructions for that round. When we hold a category, we'll rank candidates in the pool, invite top-ranked candidates to apply. So let's go in here and let's just take a look. So French, all that you need for French when we click on here is the ability to speak French at a level 7. Simple as that, and meet the other requirements. When it gets to healthcare and all these other draws, you'll see that what has changed now is that instead of 6 months, you need 12 months of full-time work experience. So it's not the case of, oh, I'm just going to go work for 6 months in some trade occupation so that I can then get through the category-based draw when all my experience is in a different unrelated field. Now they're saying you need at least 12 months of full-time work experience within the past 3 years. And it doesn't need to be continuous. In a single occupation listed in the table below, no matter your primary occupation. So what this means is your primary occupation under express entry could be something different, your primary knock, and then this can be accumulated in other occupations, basically, but it needs to be a single one listed in the table. So you can't combine work experience in 2 of them to get the 1 year, 12 months. Okay. And it can be in Canada or abroad. Whereas the other categories, the ones that we looked at before for these are Canadian work experience for physicians, senior managers, and researchers. Okay. So if we go through here and we look at healthcare and social services, you can see all of the occupations. In fact, there are 37, it looks like. So all of these, I haven't looked to see exactly what's changed, what's in and what's out. Of course, nurses and physicians, even though you can see here, general practitioners and family physicians are still on this list, okay? They're still on the list, but these are people without Canadian work experience. If we go back up here and look at the categories again, you can see when it comes to physicians, they have to have Canadian work experience to get through this area. So you still have physicians that are going through this one, but within the healthcare, you still have physicians on this list. So dentists and licensed practical nurse, massage therapists. Wonder if there's anything here. Of course, nurses and nurse practitioners, coordinators, optometrists. Don't see anything unusual here. Registered nurses, of course. And then the last one, social workers are still on here. Veterinarians, therapists. Okay, so those are on health and social service. And understand when we're going through this, I think probably we'll see if there's any real changes. We'll talk about these maybe in a podcast, but I just wanted to hit on these right now so that people understand. So STEM, once again, STEM here, you can see one of the big issues is that there's still no tech. And they specifically mentioned cybersecurity specialists because all the other tech, software engineers, developers, all that kind of stuff has been stripped away and it's not returned. So I think it's disingenuous to leave this as STEM. It should just be SEM, S-E-M. Okay, so engineers, they still have insurance agents and brokers here. This one, I'm surprised someone didn't ask them about this because this is ridiculous. I don't know why that's on the list. And then mechanical engineers. You can see it's very, very small list, very short. Okay, next on our list here is trade occupations. So let's see if cook's still on the list. So you can see all the traditional trades, heating, refrigerating, heavy-duty mechanics, bricklayers, all of these things, welders, sheet metal, and look what's gone. So finally, they've removed cooks off of here. I did not think cooks needed to be on here. It didn't make any sense why they would be on here. So it does not look like cooks. It looks like cooks have been removed, and so they are not a part of the trade, which makes perfect sense. Yep. And then you can see here, butchers now are on this list, which is where they should have been from the beginning. Butchers used to be on the ag list, I think. Why they had them over on the other one, I just don't know. Okay, so that's good. So let's look, and you can see what's been removed completely. There's no more agriculture. So agriculture is pulled away, and the butcher's been moved over to trade where it should have been in the beginning. But why they're pulling away agriculture, I don't know why they're penalizing farmers. I don't know. Maybe farmers have a tendency to vote more conservative. I don't know. I don't know. Education occupation. So this is still alive and well. Those are looking to come through. You can see there's not many occupations, but it's all primary, secondary teachers, early childhood educators. Yes. Transport occupations. We talked about this. Yes, they've got the pilots, the techs. You can see they've got automotive service technicians, truck and bus mechanics, and mechanical repairs. So they actually have automotive techs in here. Aircraft mechanics, instruments, and you can see what's missing from here. There is no truck drivers. They've really, really limited transport. So it's just, yeah, realistically aircraft and air. There's nothing else in here. So they've stripped all the transport away. No truck drivers or things like that. Okay, next is physicians. So once again, we talk about this. They have to have 12 months of Canadian work experience in the last 3 years. So single occupation, it has to be in Canada. So you can see these ones here. General practitioners are on this list as well. So a person who doesn't have Canadian work experience can come in and go through the healthcare, and those that have Canadian experience as a physician can go through this, or a specialist, or clinical laboratory medicine. So there's just 3 on the list. And then senior managers. This is the new one. This is what I wanted to see. So to be eligible for this, you must have, once again, at least 12 months of full-time. Now, we've got a client that should benefit heavily from this. Experience does not need to be continuous in a single occupation in Canada, meet the requirements. So you can see here, they only have a small group. So then the question becomes, as a senior manager, and look, it's double zeros. So it's 000, really. So these are the highest C-suite level positions. So regular managers at a 0 level are not going to cut it. It has to be a tier 00. So senior managers, construction, transport, trade, broadcasting, health, education, financial, which encompasses a lot of the main ones. So makes sense that that's finally there, and it's good to see it. Researchers, same thing. They will identify themselves. There's just post-secondary teachers and research assistants and university profs. Those are the ones that typically do this research. And then like we talked about skilled military, we touched on that briefly. You can take a look at this, but essentially anyone that is working with our Canadian forces in any of these capacities has an ability to go through permanent residence. And then once they have worked for a period of time, they then have pathways, direct pathways to Canadian citizenship as well. All right, whew, that was a lot, but that was a quick crash course. I just wanted to go through that with you. Hopefully you guys made sense. I know that there's probably a lot of questions. I'll just post some of the comments because it's kind of fun. And we'll bring up the minister here. She can join me because she just had, this was her, well, we'll make her a little bigger here. This is her press conference that we attended. If you're just jumping in a little bit late, the minister joined us and well, I shouldn't say she joined us. We joined her with the live watch party. So let's see here. Kibbutz says, thanks for the analysis. You're very welcome. Well, we got a lot of ideas. This was good. True. And then Joe says only caught the tail end. Okay, so when does this take effect? Immediately. It's always immediately. So understand, Zeus, the next draw, it'll be for one of these categories. So when there's a draw for one of these categories, then that's the first time it will take effect. Okay, Tian Show, good question from the Turkish lady. Yes, Canada has a lot of special measures, whether it's Hong Kong, whether it's for basically the people with the natural disaster from Turkey, Iran, special measures, even Ukraine. And so these types of work permits, people are wondering, well, you're bringing them over, but now what are they going to do? And so the minister is basically saying, well, they will qualify through whatever means are out there and available. And, we still have to have capacity to absorb these people into our communities. Well, my response is that's a stupid response because these people, minister, are already here in the communities. And so you're allowing them to continue staying temporarily. So you're saying that they're going to cause more problems the longer they stay in a community. That's what you're saying, which does not make sense to me. If they're here, they're here. Joe says she sounds like she has no idea what's really happening. Well, when you're a minister, you don't always understand everything right at the ground level. I'm not sure if this is like mocking. Maybe it is. Maybe it's facetious. Yeah, they need talent and give PR to people with 390 points under French category. Yeah, I think you were being sarcastic there. Okay, Carla says, hi, Mark. Have been following you for a while and just decided to return home. My husband and I are PhD, but it's been impossible to stay in Canada. Thank you for your company during this time. Okay, well, Carla, there may very well be an opportunity for you, depending on what your situation is. I recommend that you book a consult and we can go through it and chat and see if there are any final options before you, eventually make that decision. Okay, Shane says, one quick question. All she said, will this affect the people who have already an ITA or just for the one applying for PR? No, if you've already have your ITA and you're submitted your EAPR, then these changes won't affect you very much. Let's see what else. Anything else here? I think I've posted a lot of these comments already. Just looking here. Well, I'll pull up your comment here, Patel. Like the reality is, yeah, your options are very few. He says, I work as a pharmacy assistant in Brantford. My OINP points are 91, but no invitation as of now, as they are not inviting PA outside ready. Will they invite PAs? We just don't know. We just don't know about that one. Okay, Josh said, what's the probability of the CC draws with CRS 505 or 506? Well, if they continue to do large draws like they just did of 6,000 or more, then it's entirely possible that you could see the scores continue to dip down for CEC to 505 or 506. But there are a lot in the queue right now. This one here, Saleh, I'm going to ring my little triangle and I'm going to encourage you to slide over to our let's see here. Slide over to our consultation page and book a consult. Basically, this kind of a question is something that we need to dive a whole lot deeper in, to talk about whether it's worth it to follow a PhD in Canada. So we can talk about that later. Let's see, anything else? People that are waiting, processing times, things are just getting longer, you guys. Hashtag says, I've been waiting for my citizenship to be processed for 18 months now. My friend has been waiting for 22 months. We're both from Pakistan. Another Pakistan friend got it in 6 months. Yeah, they're all over the map, and every person is a little bit different. I wish I had an answer for you. Processing times are what they are, and yeah, it's frustrating for sure. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else? I think we've covered everything that we need to, I think. Let's see. Salah says, as a Moroccan, I'll get my master's degree in AI and data science engineering after 3 years from now, and I would like to continue my PhD abroad. Do you think Canada's a good option for me? Absolutely. It is. For that level, it is. And they've confirmed that, right? Will there be a STEM draw? Good. Your question is as good as mine. Crystal, thanks for jumping in and joining us on LinkedIn. And then Igor has had a few questions. Let's see. IMSEC says, if I get married after my PR visa is approved, but before my landing in Canada and I request to add my spouse to my application, what would happen? Could you please advise on the pros and cons? You need to book a consult. So if you get married after you've submitted your EAPR, your permanent residence, like you've actually submitted it, then that spouse is not going to affect your comprehensive ranking system score, generally speaking, no. But if you got married before and then you try to add her on later, then they will reassess everything and could even determine, that there's misrepresentation if you list a spouse as not accompanying and they're with you in Canada. So you need to watch and be careful for that. But ultimately, if you get married after you submit your EAPR, then it doesn't often negatively affect your comprehensive ranking system score. Yeah. If over 40 is too old to immigrate to Canada, thinking of CEO you referenced. Yeah, that's exactly it. Let's see, anything else? I think we'll wrap up here. Yep, and yeah, I think that's it. Okay, we've got a super chat. Let's see if Chris has anything here. Let's see. Okay, so Chris says, does this mean that software engineers, developers, AI engineers, product managers are not eligible for any PR pathway, even with Canadian experience? No, it means that they're not going to be eligible through a category-based draw. So it's not listed as one of the occupations in the STEM category. So if there was a STEM-only draw, you wouldn't be eligible for that. But any regular CEC with Canadian work experience, you're eligible as long as the positions are skilled. Okay. All right, excellent. Okay, well, we've had a very long one. We went 2 hours and 34 minutes, so we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for all you crazy people that stuck around this whole length of time. I really, really appreciate it. We'll get our little outro song going in the background here. But as always, it's just so good to be here with you. And sometimes this is a little bit therapeutic for me too. I know so many of you out there are suffering So many of you are listening to what Minister Diab here has to say. And, it's just it's so crass. Like that's the only way I can describe it. When she says, well, temporary was always intended to be temporary, so you shouldn't have any other expectations. Well, her own ministers from her own party told people for years that international students, for example, were the ones that they were primarily focused on because they were the best and had the greatest chance of settling and integrating into Canadian society because they had Canadian education. And now they're saying, well, it's putting strain on our social network, on the communities, and they're having trouble absorbing them. They're already here, Minister. So I'm not buying that. The reality is they're already here. And I know that you're saying, well, if we get rid of them, then it will relieve some of the pressure. Well, okay, possibly. But now you're talking about recruiting and bringing in the best and brightest from all over the world when you have them here. So I hear you guys. I understand your frustration. We see it every day with our consultations. And I know lots of you probably have questions and we're not going to have a chance to answer them today. Remember, all you need to do is go over to our website. The link is below. Click and book a consult and we can work our way through whatever challenges you have. Sometimes when we have our discussions and we talk about all the options, we realize that the options are really pretty few and far between. And in some cases, people need to seriously consider the next steps that will require them to return home. Never, ever will I ever want you guys or tell you to roll the dice by submitting a document that isn't accurate or an application that's untrue. Because if you're found to have misrepresented or to have committed fraud within the application, that's going to haunt you to every other country. It's going to haunt you with the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, because all those countries have information sharing. Go back and watch our Canadian Immigration podcast episode. I think it was around maybe between 100 and 110, our Time's Up series. If you haven't, or go on YouTube and watch the video of Alicia and I talking about the dangers of choosing to stay in Canada illegally when your status expires. Just don't do it. Filing an H&C, filing a refugee application, all those things are just really, really iffy kind of questions, okay? You don't want to go down that path unless you genuinely meet the requirements. Something we can help you assess and make good decisions in a consult. But ultimately, I just want to thank all of you for being here, for being so supported over the years. Hard to believe we're on episode 501 of this live Q&A. So exciting. And it's all because of you, whether you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, even some people on X or Facebook. Thanks to my local people here in Lethbridge who gave me a shout out. You guys are awesome. And so are all of you guys. And at the firm, we just do everything we can to try to help you navigate your way through this crazy world that we call it Canadian immigration these days. All right. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And we wish you all the very, very best.